they are not the leader of the company. The company is the leader of them. You could almost say that there is a reverse pyramid in Japanese companies, where actually the bottom is the top, and the top is the bottom in terms of leading the company. It's really.
But the top people who are middle class people, the same for white people.
Right, because actually, basically, there's this follower culture, right? So every manager has his own train of people who follow him, and then he needs to follow his boss, and then there's another train of bosses who follow.
What I'm talking about is Japanese people. They don't have self-confidence applied for white people. They cannot speak out their opinion. No, they cannot.
All right. Okay. So I would like to put something against that. Also, it is because it is not them, right? So Japan is much less of an ego culture. That is, they don't put themselves in the spotlight. They are more representing the company. The company is what they derive their pride from, not their individual. Them being a leader, stepping out in the front line and leading the troops and saying, "Well, here we go. We're going in this direction," and that is, you don't see that often in Japan. So it's also an institutional. It's really an organizational issue that it's not so easy for somebody who represents his company to step out and step outside of his organization and really try to deal with Westerners on an individual basis, because basically the only reason why he's there is because he represents his company. So his company is always on his neck when he's talking, when he's engaging, and he never knows when he turns around and actually needs to deliver whatever he agrees to with the Western business partner, that he can actually deliver, because it could very well be that his internal organization says, "Well, sorry, but we're not going to do that." Or I cannot approve of that. That's unfortunately, that's a no-go. So what happens is that people don't want to lose face. They can't give anything. They can't really give any negotiation. Can't really stand firm and say, "Okay, this is how we're going to do it," because they have nothing to offer. If you need to negotiate, if you need to engage, and you have nothing to offer, how can you negotiate? Unless you say, "Okay, this is our final offer," and then say, "Well, thank you, but no, thank you." Because in a negotiation, you need to win, right? Both sides need to feel that they are winning. So you need to give away something, even if you are entering a negotiation. At least ask for a higher price, ask for better conditions, so that you can give that away. That finally the other side feels as a winner. But if you are completely stuck and need to turn around for everything that you want to give away, you gain trust. It's impossible.
Sonoda is actually involved in English-speaking groups.
Right. Yeah.
He has experience for kind of communication or negotiation with overseas people. Ask him.
Where does this come from in your opinion? Where do you see what is the biggest source of potential insecurity? Is that language? Is that basically your self-image, or is that maybe an organizational issue? What do you think weighs heavier, or are they all important?
What does such kind of Japanese people think the most important amongst those?
Right. For on an individual basis. So if people if there would be self-confidence issues, what do you think is the biggest contributor to this insecurity? Is that language? Is that basically an insecurity to put yourself in front of other people, no matter who is on the other side? Or is it more an institutional issue, so that basically whatever you want to promise, whatever you want to give away, you cannot be certain that you can deliver? Here, the premise from Una-san is that Japanese people do not have pride. They don't have self-confidence, especially when they are dealing with Europeans. Okay, so what you're saying is that in my circle, that's not so common. So the Japanese people that I see usually make a strong voice and let themselves be heard.
This
Okay, so we are in Europe have always been a continent of instability, of turmoil, of melting and conflict, of trade, negotiation, instability, basically, and that also contributed to our strength because you needed to be able to stand up for yourself, for your own interests, and that
You didn't mention, but my guess is, okay, you have a lot of nationalities,
yes,
many people, right?
yes,
Commingling.
yes,
So you always need to discuss with each other, right?
right,
Instead of Japanese,
right.
right? So this is a big gap we have.
Definitely. So different people's different interests. Today, most European countries have a very open and diverse society. I think on average, 20% of our population in Netherlands, France, Germany, yes, are consists of foreigners, people who were not born in the Netherlands, first or second generation immigrants who are trying to make a living, trying to build up their lives overseas. So
For Japanese, it's impossible to get kind of different nationality people to make conversation for those people.
well, it's not easy. That's what we discover in Europe.
How
as
are we
well.
going to solve it? I think one big reason is Japanese cannot communicate with European people. You are familiar with to discuss any kind of people, right?
Right.
Not we are. We don't.
Looking at European history, there are two approaches to solve that. One is to create a multicultural society, where you first acknowledge the fact that there are different cultures, different people living within your borders. You acknowledge that not every group is as strong as the other group, and by trying to help certain groups to establish themselves, to strengthen themselves, you support them a little bit more. That means like positive discrimination, for example, for immigrants, positive discrimination for women, positive discrimination for weaker groups, trying to make sure that by supporting them a little bit, like the infant industry argument for protectionism, helping them to get started, helping them to get settled. Another approach, this kind of approach was common in Germany and the Netherlands. Another approach is the approach of France. France fought very hard for their independence in the French Revolution. Égalité, liberté, fraternité. Égalité means equality, equality for everybody. That means that there is no space for positive discrimination in France. Everybody is treated equal under the law. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, you have the same rights, you have the same duties. It ignores the fact that even though you have the same rights, maybe you do not have the same position in society. It's easier to get a job as a French national coming with a French appearance.
I saw that, but they didn't the same treatment for Algeria.